I would like to say good morning, but the reality here is this is a bad day. It's really a bad day. The situation is my campaign has been repeatedly trying to get rational. I do mean rational communications from Democratic leaders. It's still not happening. The situation deals with the differences in the way the Constitution of the United States and the articles cover and state things. Now, some of you may have been tracking for over a year some of the material that I have been making public on X. And this material is very graphic. It shows violence, extreme violence, lots of broken windows, vehicles attacked. You know, these are not AI generated items. This is the truth. This is the truth. You know, so the way things are is as information, a lot of the information is still under shield. We have a collapse of the justice system. We have insurrections still ongoing across the United States. We are in a state of emergency. This is an election emergency. So what is happening is we have massive damage to a campaign, my campaign. We have leadership in mass dereliction of duty. My campaign right now, with the update, we're updating the loss of the 14 RVs, including the situation, because we're now looking at processing additional paperwork that concerns Kamala Harris, because Kamala Harris basically sat over two different offices in which my previous campaigns were communicating to get assistance, to be able to get prosecution on police officers who were interfering the process of elections, directly attacking me, directly attacking archival interest. I'll spare you all of the details, but effectively we have Arkansas that had high-ranking investigators do an independent investigation. And so, as I would be traveling through California on an earlier election, I would have police officers giving me citations. Now, there were other places that this could happen as well, other states even, but we're focused on California. Now, basically, all the other items, they followed the law. All the other states, all the other items, when I sent in information, when I call them on the phone and say, here's the electronic records right here, here's the number, check the electronic records. Most places, that's all they needed. They check the electronic records and they go, these electronic records don't match the citation the officer wrote. The officer lied. They withdrew the ticket. They removed the tickets off the books. They stopped the harassment right there. They wouldn't move forward on prosecution, but they removed the cases from the books because they were ridiculous. So when the request for electronic information went out to the state of Arkansas returned all the data. The data said independent taxes fully paid. You know, it says tabs paid. Insurance paid and current on books. You know, I mean, on and on. Everything. Perfect territory. We have an officer that writes 4 violations saying This guy doesn't have any tags. Tags expired. No insurance. You know, it just goes on and on. This guy writes up these tickets. Ridiculous. So he's gonna put this stuff. California's gonna put this stuff in computers. Commit a felony, and transmit these records nationwide. They're going to transmit false records. You call them up, you say, why are you doing this? Why are you transmitting records that are false? And you get them on the phone, you say, well, what are the electronic records out of Arkansas? Oh, well, those don't match. Well, why are you transmitting falsely generated records? You have no evidence. You know, you can't, California can just not arbitrarily out of the sky, out of thin air, start basically inventing false charges and put them against a candidate running for office. That's a felony. And they're like, well, we can't remove it. We have to go by what our laws say. I says, you can't do that. Federal law says you cannot transmit false information. That's interstate transmit using governmental systems. That's a felony, a major felony. This is not a minor misdemeanor. It's a major felony. It's a 10-year minimum penalty. 10 years. So when we have the full crime list of what the officer did, the officer's facing 70 years. 70 years of penitentiary time. Attacking an archiver, attacking a candidate. List goes on. So California doesn't want to prosecute the officer in question, nor does California want to stop its blacklisting. They do not want to stop their attacks. There are effects, there are repercussions over this happening. Other states that had officers write citations that were ridiculous, they got rid of them real quick. We communicated over the telephone. We said, look, let's check the electronic records. Let's get this stuff gone. And they responded very quickly in removing things from their computers. But California would not cooperate. And the AG's office would not cooperate. The previous prosecutor's office would not cooperate. So this is Harris. Harris would not cooperate to protect the process of election despite the fact of irrefutable evidence that a candidate was being attacked. The Constitution says it's clear. Parties involving themselves, their musters, attacking a candidate are disqualified from the process. Ms. Harris is disqualified by virtue of the Constitution of the United States. She cannot be a candidate. She is not allowed to run for office inside the boundaries of the United States because she has participated in the perpetuation of attacks against a candidate. But again, we have lawlessness. We have parties still refusing to prosecute those officers in question. So these electronic records go out, and wherever you go, you get pulled over and say, look, this is all a lie. And they'll sit there and they'll go, wait a minute, we've got conflicting electronic transmits. Arkansas says one thing, California says another. So they start seizing. You start losing vehicle after vehicle. They take your ID, your driver's license. They take it. They just take it away. They put it in their pocket and they steal it. That's a felony. They've done it twice. So here I am, a 4-state resident, going back and forth, making business trips, visiting family, and I have to deal with these kind of lies. And the attacks in California grow and perpetuate more and more and more. And my demands are the same. I demand these people be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Is this clear? They're interfering with the process of election. Is this stated clearly? Are the voters that are hearing this voice, are they clearly stating, are they clearly understanding what the voice is saying? Because you can call your leaders on the phone and ask them, what are they doing? We now have 18 RVs. We have multiple elections involved with insurrection behavior. 18 campaign mobile transmit broadcast vehicles. 18. This is one of the largest intrusions in the course of elections in the history of this nation. In the history of this nation, the only ones that come this large are prior to the 1800. And still we have parties that are refusing to stand up and fulfill their constitutional oath and protect the process of elections. So we'll start out here. That is part of the morning update. Current losses exceed $2.8 billion, plus there's other cases involved in the archive. Legal evidence from other cases. There are family case materials that deal with 70 members of the family murdered by the Germans. The Russians overtake the area. They kill 16 more members of the family. They seize all the land. There's a $4 billion lien against Russia. So yeah, the Russians, even in previous elections, I've had the Israeli Mossad walk up to me. The Israeli Mossad. And say, sir, we feel that it's important that we have a quick discussion with you. We have discovered that these Russians over here are doxing your presidential campaign, sir. And sir, we followed these people. I kick my head sideways. What is this? I get a reaction immediately. He says, well, we're following these guys into the country for a different reason. There's a different reason why we're following these people. But when we noticed that they're doxing you, we checked electronic records and we discovered that you filed candidate paperwork out of the state capitol in Arkansas. This is these are the kind of things that are quite fascinating. Quite fascinating. So, the threats against my life are enormous. I've had 7 attempts against my life by gunfire. 7. I talk about 2 of them in another cast release. So, the update this morning here for voters is I just put a big piece of truth on the table so people can try to understand. California at this moment does not have any delegates. All delegates of California effectively are seized because leadership of California is involving itself in insurrection and interfering with the process of elections and directly involving itself attacking candidates, archives, processes of elections, museums, historical artifacts, the list goes on. They're directly threatening the freedom, my freedom, unpredictably at any given time. Yet leadership refuses to respond to prosecute these guilty parties. 87 people over a 14-year period from the Justice Department and Law and Order have to be prosecuted just in the state of California. The harassment has to end. The illegal activity must stop. Arkansas states if any of these officers can be brought to Arkansas, they will immediately prosecute these parties. Now, fMRI lie detectors has me coming out, well, I got the definitive truth. These other people, they're afraid of the donuts. They're afraid of the truth. That's who these people are. So that's a piece of the morning truth for you. Disclosure to the California and to American voters of what's going on right now. And again, we still await rational communications from DNC members. Please. Can we have some rational communications? We need to get my campaign fleet restored. We need to get this campaign underway. We need to fix the archives. We need to retrieve information pertaining to national security that, as far as we can tell now, is located in 3 different countries. 3 different countries. The mass dereliction of duty of these parties to intentionally continue forward with their illegal activity has violated national security. These people, I'll tell you a little bit more. Part of the reason that they don't want to run these charges through to their full volition is because they connect to other items. The definition of what they've done goes into espionage violations, national security violations, even death penalty territory. But that has nothing to do. The truth is the truth. The truth is the truth. So we have rigged elections at this point. We have convicted felon Trump making statements on corruption, except here's the twist for you. He's wrong, but he's right. He's right about the fact that there's corruption. He pays attorneys. I'll tell you another time how he gets his source data. I'll tell you how the companies do that. I'll tell you all about that. So he's right about the part of saying that there's corruptions and that there's rigging and interference with elections. But he's wrong about who the votes belong to. I've lost 18 mobile RV units. Those aren't his votes that he was trying to battle for and talking about. Those are my votes. Those are other candidates' votes. That's what's going on. I'm losing votes. Other candidates are losing votes. Voters are being blocked from disclosure to understand what all the issues are, what all the solutions are. There's the real important thing, what all the solutions are. So the voters are being victimized and robbed by leadership. And if you're a voter, you need to be really pissed off. You need to be really pissed off. Because I'm the candidate that has the #1 best campaign developed in the history of the world. I worked decades on it. I used AI. Yes, I did. And AI looks at it, compares everybody else's platform. I have the #1 platform, the #1 set of solutions. I am the #1 most overall qualified candidate for the White House. No one can beat me. The only reason that these people can beat is because they cheat. They cheat. These people are cheaters. That's who they are. That's who Harris is. Harris is a cheater. And she's caught red-handed cheating. And here I've dumped thousands of pages and images of evidence to the White House. It's been at the White House for years. For about 2 years now. So these lies have to end. And these criminals who have been attacking my campaign have to be prosecuted. It must end. because the law states that all these items must be fully compensated, and fully resolved. That includes all prosecutions, by the way, before the election counting of the delegates and certification can begin. That means that, what does this mean? That means that all the delegates that can possibly come out of California right now are seized. They're seized. California has no delegate rights at the moment. They're gone. And I'm furious about it. But I have no choice, because I'm standing up here for America. I'm standing up for the solutions. I'm standing up for people that need compensation. I'm standing up for people's rights that are disabled, that are elderly, that are on fixed incomes. I'm standing up for the rights for people to be once again allowed to build a home with their own hands like we used to in this country, which is an original constitutional right. I'm standing up with that solution to guarantee backing every citizen with home construction loans. New construction loans. You get a job that way. You don't have a job, it doesn't matter. You're going to build a home. You just gave yourself a job. You're going to build a new asset. Assets are built 70 cents on the dollar. That means that the profit ratio, the differential, is 30%. The government prints that money. They print money on the invention of interest, and they print money on hard assets created. Those are the two primary ways the government prints money. So you're going to make the government money. Screw this nonsense about taxation. This is the big one. Go build a home that's worth $300,000 retail. The government's going to print $90,000. Hello. You can do that in less than 6 months. Less than 6 months you can pull that off. Pretty much all by yourself. The skill sets of 12 to 14-year-olds. 12 to 14-year-olds of the year 1750. They did this in way less than 6 months. Barn buildings could occur in a weekend. A day. In a day they could build a whole barn. Have a barn party. So instead of one person working on one chips, then they build a whole barn in a day. A lot of guys would joke, say it was 4 or 5 hours. We've recreated slavery in this country. Longevity in the year 1750, 38 years of age. 38 years of age. They now expect, unless you were a slave, it was much less if you're a slave. So now they want you to work, 45 years? You can't retire till 65. Well, 62. So 45 years minimum. Perhaps 47 years. 45 years. That means they're demanding somehow somebody get a hold of a substantial financial output, the equivalent of more than the lifetime of 5 slaves of the era of 1750, where longevity for slaves was 22 to 33 years of age. But you're expected to work 45 years. This is criminal. We have to put an immediate stop to this. We have to stop these people's criminal activity. We must restore the Constitution of the United States. My name is Michael Crosby. I'm running for POTUS 2024. The best candidate in history. AI has certified me as the best #1 certified candidate for AI and virtually any other source matter in the history of the world. And I want to thank you people for your time.